If you're an agency or looking to start an agency, this video is for you. I'm going to be talking about why AI will replace 90% of agencies. Number two, what the future looks like. And number three, how a select few are going to win the agency game. And interestingly enough, I worked with an agency. We did 40 million in spend and helped 7 and 8 figure brands scale. I talked to a lot of agencies and founders and do this AI stuff all day long. But just know the traditional agency as we know it is dying in real time due to the competition against AI. Alex Hormozy says agencies are actually very difficult, obviously because you are fulfilling and managing clients. So you're kind of pulled in every other direction. But it's important to know where your actual retainer is going. So after doing a lot of research and just anecdotally, the average agency spends more on coordination than on actual work. So for instance, if you are an agency, you know that there's tons of always Slack messages between the team and the clients. There's tons of emails, and it's just a ton of coordination rather than actually needle moving activities, right? Revenue generating activities. And so just so you are aware, 30% is account management, right? You need someone kind of overseeing the accounts, talking to the clients. 20% is project management, 15% is meetings and reporting, 10 is junior staff, tools and overhead 15%, and 10 is actual strategy. So a lot of this is just a ton of bloat, right? And now the research is actually coming out saying majority of the workforce, right? This is going to tie back into the agencies. Majority of the workforce is not even doing actual work. Like a lot of people are just on their phones, they're not really doing work. So the workforce is drastically going to change due to AI. And that, by proxy, is going to have an effect on every other industry. And now agencies are starting to see the effects of it. But however, the tsunami that is coming, it's going to come very, very quickly. So I would suggest you get on this right now. And you see a lot of agencies now starting to incorporate micro SaaS just to get a bit of a moat, right? To retain the clients because churn is obviously the major issue a lot of agencies suffer with. Just know this is kind of the current model of agencies. That's a lot of bloat. A lot of it is actually not moving the needle for the client. It's just actually the agency coordinating between tasks. So this is the issue obviously with AI. And so historically, right, you could charge thousands of dollars. It's going to be absolutely wild to look back and think agencies were actually charging five to $10,000 to make ads and write content and publish content. Like it's absolutely crazy, right? Because now we're actually seeing how AI can manage a lot of this. So for SEO and strategy and execution, the average agency is paying $3,000 to $10,000 a month, right? And now with AI plus you and some research you do on the web, you can do it for sub $300 a month, right? So as you can see, it's a big issue. Or we have social media management, which agencies typically do 1,500 to 5,000 a month, and now AI plus you plus some research can do it sub 120. Or we have content production. Now, content production is probably the highest retainers because obviously it does take a lot, especially if they are getting their own UGC creators and they're kind of doing a lot of the filming and the editing for you. The typical agency is charging $2,000 to $10,000 a month. And now AI plus you some research, you can do it sub 50, depending on the quality. Obviously, this is going to vary, but it's not thousands of dollars. And even with paid ads management, we know Meta is just trying to streamline that entire process, right? Kind of the media buyer, the button pushing is now becoming obsolete almost. And so you had agencies 1,500 to 5,000 a month. Now AI plus you plus some research, some YouTube videos, you can do it for about $200 a month. And you're probably thinking, well, AI can't do what I can do. That has been long debunked, okay? AI can do what you can do 10 times better than what you can do, better, faster, cheaper. That is who you're facing against now. And what's currently happening, especially with the economy, what is currently happening now, you have brands, one bringing things in house because they realize they can do it with AI and they can just hire out a individual like an AI specialist to kind of build along and do it for them. The agency model is so low barrier to entry. You have people hate agencies. They just don't like agencies and they've been burned before. And so you have a lot of these brands now bringing everything in house because they can for so much cheaper. And just the hassle with agencies, it's like, let's just do it ourselves. And going back to my point, most agencies are mediocre at best, right? Out of 100 agencies, here's the reality of what you're actually getting. You're getting a select few. So, for instance, 40% are poor, and it's just a churn game. Like the amount of churn they are facing just to keep the lights on. And historically, agencies, it's a cash flow game, right? Everyone's in it for the cash flow because it is a retainer based. With these individuals, that's far from the case. Average, right? It's nothing special. 50%, and then excellent, which is the 10%. All right. And they actually have the skills, they have the systems. They're probably implementing AI now, which a lot of them are, because they realize, oh my goodness, this is the next biggest thing. Every brand I talk to says they've been either burnt by an agency or they just don't like agencies. AI is going to do better than 90% of the industry. And please do not think that AI can't do what you can do. Yes, it can. You just have to teach it right, like you would any employee. All right, so for the 10%, or what I would be pivoting to, this is actually what I do with my agency. Yes, I have an agency. We help implement AI systems. And so what the survivors are going to do differently, and let's kind of break this down because this is the most important part. So you have about 12 to 24 months before really everyone starts just doing the same thing. So right now there is a bit of a window, and this is what you need to be doing, whether you're an agency or starting an agency. So you need to start an AI native firm. Again, that's what we do. Um, and you need to sell outcomes and performance. And again, a lot of people do that. Some of the poor agencies don't sell the outcomes and performance. But when it comes down to it, a lot of businesses don't care if you're using AI or not. They just want, again, the performance. They always just want outcomes and performance. So revenue tied to results, right? That's why some of the performance-based agencies do very well because it's less risk for the client and it's tied to the performance. Fewer clients, bigger impact, higher margins, right? So if you do a great job, and this is why some agencies actually don't do it, mostly it's just retainer, because they actually can't perform to that degree. But if you can perform to a high degree, you can actually make a lot more money. And now with AI, my friends, it's actually even easier to provide that performance. So we'll talk about actually how to do that. Deep niche expertise. Okay, so own one vertical, become irreplaceable in a specific industry, right? So that could be the e-com space. And so what that's going to look like is you're going to have fewer headcount and you're going to have one individual manage the entire social department of a business. You're going to have a 3-person team, like I just said, at massive margins. And you're going to have a 3-person team or like a 2-person team of cracked out individuals that are running 60+% margins. Okay, probably even higher than that. AI handles execution, humans handle strategy and relationships, right? So sure, you can hop on calls here and there with your clients. You can use retention strategies. Right now, one thing that's working for us is we are actually like, when's your birthday? We're going to send you a gift. Holidays, we're going to send you a gift. We're going to send you cards, e-cards or whatever. And that tends to really work. Okay. So it's going to become a human to human relationship game. And some agencies, again, they're just so bogged down that it's just like you're a cog in the machine, just like the corporate industry. AI as the core workflow. So one thing Hormozi talks about, and I really resonate with this, is you're not going to think about it through a role-based perspective because that has always been flawed. Again, majority of individuals, like I said, 60% of the workforce is not even really doing work. Why? Because it's role based and in the higher ups or just the corporate structure, it's hard to manage all of that. So a lot of individuals aren't even doing real work at this point. And so instead of a role based saying, hey, we're going to hire out a designer, what you're going to say is, what is the core workflow that needs to be accomplished to basically have a designer agent? And that's why you are saying right now, oh, AI can't do what I can do. It's because you don't have a proper workflow. So like I've always said, you're going to be a manager of AI. And so what you need to start doing, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to hire something, you need to have an AI first firm where you say, instead of hiring out AI, what are the specific steps that need to be, it's very granular. What are the specific steps that the media buyer is going to do? What are the specific steps that the designer is going to do? X, Y, and Z, just go down the org chart and say, we need to create workflows or agents for this. And so proprietary AI systems obviously become the moat. And so if you have proprietary systems, just train your models on that. If you really focus on skills, right? If you just focus on the workflow, dialing that in, sure, that may take a few days, a week, or whatever, just, some back and forth. It's going to take a little bit, don't get me wrong, but once that thing's in place, that is your A+ employee that just is going to do this stuff on autopilot. And now, especially with Cowork, you can schedule tasks. I even have my ads scheduled right now. And so it's easier now than ever. And I will just say, think of workflows and automations and what the employees are doing, how can AI do it, and just essentially make sure your SOPs are solid and just give AI that. And I'm telling you, you'll have a better time. All right, where it's headed, let's talk about this. And again, I've talked to a lot of 7 and 8 figure founders, and just agency owners and a lot of people because, again, all I do is kind of this AI stuff. And this is kind of what I see for the next 5 years. Traditional agencies are being replaced layer by layer, right? So agencies own everything. That was kind of the 2020. Clients had no choice. You need a team for SEO, ads, content, social, and you're just like, yeah, let's do it because I really don't know how to do it myself. And back then it was very tough to do it, right? Like SEO, it's complicated. I have all these links, backlinks. What is all this rhetoric and all this stuff? Ads, how do I actually convert these ads? I don't want to waste money. Content, same thing, and social, the same thing. In 2023 to 2025, AI tools eat the execution layer, right? So ChatGPT, Jasper, Midjourney, Opus Clip, they weren't great in 2023, 2024. Now they're getting pretty good. Suddenly one person can do what a five-person team did. And then you start to see the and then you started to see the power of AI. And again, it's slowly creeping in. So time flies. And the problem is AI is the toddler that's 5 right now. And I'm telling you, within a year, he'll be 25. Okay, so the pace of AI is rapidly improving, and no one really seems to be talking about it too much, or they think it's a fad, or again, the notion that AI just can't do what you can do. And by all means, keep thinking that. 2025 to 2026. So we have solarpreneurs, and solarpreneurs are kind of the future. Again, you're not going to really want headcount. It's going to be 1 to 2 people. And you're just gonna have a ton of AI agents, right? So solopreneurs and small teams replace agencies now. So freelancers with AI are faster, cheaper, and more accountable than agency teams even. So there's lots going on. And then 2027 plus, only premium strategy firms survive. So the middle is gone, and obviously Hormozi has talked about this. The middle is where people go to die. Okay, so you're either $500 a month, and I'm going to walk you through that right now. You're either $500 a month, an AI powered operator, or your 50K month strategic advisor. There's not going to be, we charge 15,000, we charge $10,000 for just basic agency traditional services. It's just not going to work because the business is going to be like, hey, we're going to do this for maybe $1,000 and bring it in house. So how would this work with $500? Now, interestingly enough, I've thought about this. Hormozi's actually talked about it. So now, I mean, everyone has always said sell high ticket, right? Everyone has always advocated for high ticket because you can just make more money, which makes sense. And obviously, if I was selling my agency services at $500 a month years ago, you wouldn't make much margin. You wouldn't make much money because the margins aren't great at $500 a month. However, now with AI agents, being on a max plan, I can spend $100, $140, and I can fulfill a lot cheaper, $400, $500 a month now. And the thing is now what you're going to see is a lot of people just say, hey, I can do it for $500 or $1,000, while the average agency that's not AI native is going to say, hey, give me $5,000 to $10,000. So they're going to come to you. And the advantage now is that your margins are still going to be sky high because AI is doing all the fulfillment. And you're not going to have much expenses other than, I mean, the core models you're using, the Claude, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, maybe a max plan, a few $100s a month to fulfill across your client portfolio. And so imagine you can get 10 people or 20 people at $500 a month. And what you're thinking is, holy crap, that seems like a lot. Once you develop the systems around that, it's pretty easy to click buttons and just manage the clients. Sure, you can meet with them, here and there, right? But historically, that would never work because you just wouldn't make money because you needed other people to fulfill. Now, AI agents will fulfill for you, and the AI is only getting cheaper. That is a great model to go after right now. And I think that will dominate for the next 1 to 2 to 3 years because traditional agencies are still going to be asking for the high ticket prices. Or instead, you are the individual that just goes up market and now is requesting 50K month strategic advising. And you're going to be providing those same things, but just to very well established businesses. And so the bottom line, adapt or die. So the agencies that survive will look nothing like the agencies of today. It's going to be 1 to 2 people fulfilling across a very wide portfolio, or you're going to just niche down even further. So right now, AI doesn't replace strategy. It more so replaces the execution agencies overcharge for. And they have been overcharging for years on years. So one person with AI tools now outperforms a 10-person agency team, and the 10% that survive will be lean, AI native, and ruthlessly focused on value. There's obviously agencies leaning into AI now, and they're just saying, hey, we'll give you like 100 ads per month. And yes, these ads convert. So deliverables, or there's going to be an inflation on deliverables. Soon it's going to be like, we're going to give you 1,000 ads, right? Because it's going to be that easy to produce if you really focus on it. And yes, they will convert. So things are getting very interesting, but this is just some of the things I see. And so if you got value out of this video, subscribe down below, helps out a lot. And as always, my friends, stay human, and I'll see you next time.